Well, welcome to Power Tools and Profit, where today we're greeted with the lovely guest, Tyler Marcinkewciz.
That's it. Woo!
Yes.
Marcinkewciz. Oh, I love it. I love it. From Great
From
Lakes Heating and Cooling. That's
Great Lakes,
easy one to say.
Right.
Great Lakes Heating and Cooling. So that means you're somewhere along the Great Lakes. Where are you located right now?
We're just outside of Detroit, Michigan.
Troy? Okay, listen, I had high hopes for you guys last year in the Super Bowl. Well, you didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but I wanted you to go to the Super Bowl because I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. And if the Browns ain't gonna make it and Detroit is close, you're like my runner-ups, right? I'm like, go Lions. So I don't know if you're into football at all, but yeah, that was my thing.
I think
So have you been in
the whole entire state was trying to get us to the Super Bowl.
the whole Midwest was like, let's go. How long are you like a city boy? Have you always been in Michigan or are you Detroit?
So,
Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so I've always been in Michigan. I was born in Traverse City. And then my parents got divorced at a young age. So then we ended up moving to Romeo, Michigan. And we just kind of been local. Romeo's right around here, more or less. And we've just been local ever since then.
So coming
That's
out
awesome.
of
I lived in Traverse City for a small season. That's
Nice.
small world. It's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful up there. So
Yeah.
I got to ask the question before we transition to the business. You're in Traverse City and then you moved to Romeo.
Yep.
What was the thought process there?
So, well, my mom and dad, when they were together, I was 3. And
Okay.
I accidentally burned my house down when I was 3. And,
Oh, no.
shortly after my parents got divorced, it wasn't because of me, of course. At least that's what I was told. And then we moved in with my grandparents in Romeo and started from
So
there.
how did I gotta ask the question? How did you burn the house down?
Every kid has that dream of becoming a firefighter, and
Oh my gosh.
there's no fire to put out. So I thought, from what I can remember, let's try to make a fire so I can save my family. Wouldn't you know it? I couldn't save my family, and I burned the house down in the same accord.
Tyler.
I know. I've
Wow.
thus
So the next
learned
time I'm
a lot.
upset at my 3-year-old, the next time I'm upset, I'm like, at least he didn't light the house on fire.
I set the standards pretty low for that one, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. All right. So walk us through the journey here. So 3-year-old grows up, hopefully no more house fires. He
Nope.
didn't pursue the dream of becoming a firefighter, but he went into the HVAC world. Walk us through that.
So my grandparents owned a factory. He actually created the grip and the bowling ball. And I worked at the factory from about 12 to 13 years old, cleaning urinals and stuff like that until high school. And then when I got out of high school, everyone's like, oh, join the family business and, with what we know, this and that. And I always liked working with my hands. I didn't want that white collar experience. So I got into heating and cooling with my cousin. We were just hanging out one day and he's 3 years older than I am. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And I'm like, I don't know either, but I'm not going to college. I know that. And so I ended up going to heating and cooling school for a year, a trade school, and worked my way through trade school. And once I got out, I worked for a couple bigger name companies around here. Then I noticed that I didn't like how they operated and did business as a 20-year-old and seeing everybody around me be business oriented. I thought that I, seen better ways to do things. So I thought, all right, well, let's try the union. So I went to the union as a journeyman for HVAC for about 2 years. And once I got there, I was like, yeah, this is the best of the best, the end all be all, best benefits, pay, all this jazz. But at the end of the day, I wanted my sole purpose to start a company and run a company and learn as much knowledge as I could before I could do that. Well, I learned a lot of bad things in the union. I don't know if it was just the luck of my draw with the companies I got into with, but I ended up getting out of the union. I partnered with another company before this one, and everything was going good there. The partner was good. We had the same morals. We were both churchgoers. We like to stay around that morality of conscience.
Love it.
And then, long story short, he ended up stabbed me in the back, and I lost about $25,000 of my own invested money into it. And so instead of sitting there and dwindling and saying, oh my God, this and that, and the other thing, let's just fight this out and sit here on my butt doing nothing, I was approached by another company to partner with them because they'd seen where I'd taken my company that I was previously partnered into to where it was before to where it is now. And We had a 300% increase in revenue sales over the 3 years I was there.
Nice.
I was doing a lot of marketing that I had no clue on how to do any of it, but a lot of YouTube and just talking with people that I knew, other business owners. I wear my heart on my sleeve. If I am bad at something, I tell you I'm bad at it, but I always come with the one contradiction. If I don't know how to do it, you don't owe me nothing if I don't fix it. But if I fix it, then, I'm going to charge accordingly. And so I started off doing that, and that kind of opened the door for a lot of conversations with people who have issues with their heating and cooling contractors. They don't answer, they don't show up on time, they're not transparent. The things that
Yeah.
kind of not feel well when inviting somebody into your home to fix your heat. So here we are, partnered with the newest company. I have a partner that's 53 years old. He is retiring in 5 years, and he has been a commercial dominant company. They do AutoZones, Subways, Tractor Supplies, Dollar Trees, and they don't do any residential. At least before me, they didn't do any. But I'm here with the residential market. I have a lot of people that have trusted me to help them out with all their heating and cooling. And so I just we've been running with it and doing all the marketing, all the day-to-days with talking with clients, homeowners, letting them know that, hey, if your furnace is out, it's not the end of the world. It's no problem. We'll be there to fix it for you, and correlate with them in a timely manner. That's not just like, you're another number. Um, so
Sure.
it's been working really well, and we've been getting a lot of good results, a lot of good feedback, a lot of good new customers, homeowners. A lot of them are, I know it sounds cliche to say, but a lot of our homeowners are really good friends of ours. I text them happy birthday. I see how their kids are doing, stuff like that. Cause we're all human. We all wear the same
Yeah.
pants, no better than one another. So I try to treat everybody like that. So that's kind of my
I mean,
I love
journey.
that. I was gonna shift you a little bit here. Like, talk about the growth because I heard some pretty cool numbers. There's some exciting numbers
Yeah.
on things that you were doing. You jumped on YouTube to figure out some things. What does that look like? How are you driving traffic? How are you controlling revenue? What's bringing profit to your business?
and I think
So
even from the
I,
start, I
yeah,
was gonna say
sorry.
even from the start, you said you hopped on and you saw 300% growth. So I
Yep.
think one of the biggest things that from an entrepreneur, business person, is sometimes they don't even know their numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like they just hop in, they're doing it. But to hear you even say like, "Hey, look, we had this percentage growth off of some of the things that you coming in and starting." I guess, yeah, I would love to hear about how you did that, and then like what are you currently doing to stay on top of it?
So I started off with like the Facebook Reels and created a Facebook account, because I'm looking for everything that's free. I'm not
Yeah.
quote unquote pooping golden eggs. I can't just sit here and hire all these things and see what works out. So after kind of realizing that, hey, we don't have this endless money pit to just dump into marketing. I got to do it myself. So I went on Facebook, started making reels, and then from there was in a couple groups in Facebook of other HVAC contractors, and I would reach out to them and I would kind of stalk them more or less and say, okay, this guy says he's only been open for 2 years and he's doing $1 million a year. All right, well, this guy can do it. Why can't I?
Yeah.
So then I came to the conclusion of maybe I should just reach out. So I called. I
Love it.
said, "Hey, if you have a time, can I talk to you just to see where your headspace is at?" So I talked to a couple different people, got their ideology behind everything, and found out some marketing platforms that worked good for them. And I tried replicating it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went on to Facebook, started doing a couple better a couple of ads, and then I got linked up with a SEO company that was relatively inexpensive. They started out, of course, at like they wanted $800 a month, and I just said no way. And then after him and hawing back and forth, after about a week, they're only charging me about $299 a month. And so I'm like, cool, that's way better of a price range for me. So we started doing that. And then I really started documenting everything and making a presence online, responding to my Google reviews, um, and correlating with my website so that every job I did, if somebody were to leave a review, there's a map on our website that shows their house in that city and says, hey, Tyler at Great Lakes Heating and Cooling did a great job, yada, yada, yada. Well, now the neighbor of Mrs. Smith or Mr. Whoever sees that and says, hey, they just did somebody around here. Let's give them a call. And so that's kind of how I started originating my growth. And then from there, just being attentive to my phone. My wife hates it. She's always looking at me like, what the heck are you doing? Get off your phone. And I can agree with her. But my whole mentality is if I can struggle and we can weather this storm together. Hopefully in 5 to 10 years, I don't have to be, I can hire somebody to do what I'm doing now. But right now we
Mm.
don't have that fund to do that. So I have to be that guy. So
Well,
we ultimately just kind of kept soaring from there. Word got out that, there's a heating and cooling guy that wasn't owned by a private equity group because that's big
mm,
around us right now.
Yeah.
Call me. I always tell everybody you can call me anytime. My phone's always open as long as my eyes are. And so everybody likes that. And it kind of kicks me in the butt too, because 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, somebody's calling me. I might have to run out at 8 or 9 o'clock at night to help somebody out. Now that makes me feel good. My benefit and my morality gets boosted by doing that stuff because nobody else answered, but I did, and I was there to help you out.
yeah. And that's so important, especially with these local services, because people who, when they're in need, it's an emergency, right? So if they're
Right.
Googling you and you're the first at the list, if they call you and you don't, they call that first person, they don't pick up, they immediately go to the next person and then the
Yeah.
next person. And if you think this lead is still going to be good by even the morning time, it is not, because someone will pick it up. And if you're that guy that picks it up, that's great customer
Yep.
service, because then people know they can rely on you. All right. So now they're telling
Yeah.
their friends, like, hey, I called this person. It was 9:30 at night. And like he came out and like, we didn't have to sleep in the cold or
You're
sleep in the
right.
warm, whatever it is. I think that's a great testament to what you do. And you talked about, reaching out to people who have already done it. I think that's so important because
Mhm.
I think you maybe said this, but success leaves clues, right? If it's
Right.
not broke, right, let's not try reinvent the wheel. Oftentimes that's that happens. But that's great, man. I love to hear that. Tell me a little bit about, so that's how you got started, and like currently you're in that space. In 5 years, you're about to turn over ownership, right? Is it going to you, or how does that look like? And what is your goal? Maybe even up to this next 5 years or even beyond.
Yeah, so the next 5 years is gonna be our growth. How far can we grow? Ultimately, I don't want to be any more than 5 trucks, and I think that'd be my max, and the reason being is because once you get past that 5 trucks, from what I've seen, customers stop becoming customers, they start becoming numbers. Now you're
Mm,
strictly a business that only looks at that, and when you have so many moving parts that you can't, quote, unquote, "control," you could try all your hardest, but you're not gonna be able to. There's gonna be things that slip through the crack. The quality might fall a little lower, and I can't give the guys the training they need. So everybody here follows in my van for the first year, and they see how I do everything from furnace and AC for the whole year, and how I talk to customers, how, again, we're all people. People have issues every now and then. Their
yeah,
car just broke and they just spent their last $5,000, and nobody thinks about their heating and cooling equipment, especially it's only when it breaks. And then when it breaks, they're like, oh my God, this is so much money. And
yeah,
I agree. It is. It is a lot of money. And it's a lot of money to trust somebody to give you the best that you can do. And being near Detroit, I see it all the time where, 30 pack Jack rolls up in his car and puts in this furnace. And then a week later, I get a phone call saying, it's brand new. I just had to put in, it's not working. I get there and I tell him bad news that, hey, the system that's in here is not going to work for your house.
mm,
And we're gonna have to redo a lot of stuff here. Well, how much is that gonna cost? I tell them a number, they're shell shocked, and then it goes into, well, now I'm a bad guy because I'm trying to charge too much money. Can't you help me out? I can only help out as much as I can. I'm here to help out as much as I can, but at the same token, I have a family I have to feed as well. And there's people that, there's 3 other families here that I have to pay so that they can feed their families. And at the end of the day, their families get fed before mine do because I'm the one sitting here
Right.
trying to take this risk. And I'm not going to make it your problem if I can't do the books right or get the work in, because that's my risk that I'm taking as an owner. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot that goes through my head every day. I mean, every
yeah.
day is a new day.
Well, I think one thing that you're touching on is like culture, right? Like, how do I maintain a good culture even through growth, right?
Yeah,
Um, and it's funny because I used to work for Apple, and Apple's a huge company, right? And everyone talks about their culture, everyone talks about this, and there are some bad seeds out there, and there's
sure.
a lot of things that they can't control. But it was funny because when I would tell people I work for Apple, they would always say, "Wow, do you guys like?" It always seems no matter what store I go to or who I deal with, they all like do you take a personality test? Because it always feels like it's the same style of people. And I would chuckle because it's like, yeah, that's the culture that they build and the culture that they can control, right? If you have
Right.
an Apple product and you have to go through their customer service, they all of them will bend over backwards for you as much as they can, and they allow their employees that flexibility to help it. They have their they call it the Apple Steps of Service. And I don't think
Mhm.
I'm under any contract, but I'm going to tell you what the Apple Steps of Service are. Because they would come up, because I do it to my wife. I'm telling you, like, because when someone comes in, just like you, right, they're upset, something's broken, they broke their phone, and it's my fault, right? It's the Apple
Right.
employee. My phone broke, it's smashed. Look at this thing. And they're pissed off, and they come to you, and it's like, they said, Apple says the first thing you want to do is align with them. They call them the 3 A's. You align with them and say, I understand you're upset. If it was me, I would be upset too. And that like drops their defense a little bit, because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy understands. And then the next one is acknowledge. Like, you acknowledge what's going on. Like, okay, I see what this is happening. And then the last thing is assure. Assure them that there's going to be a resolution after this. So it's like align with them, acknowledge the problem, and assure them that there's a solution. And that
Yep.
was built into their culture. So when someone comes in, whether it's genuine or not, right?
Yeah.
They're dropping these A's, right? And it feels good, and every customer has that same experience. So I think 5 trucks is good. I don't know how many trucks do you have now?
Right now we have trucks, but we had to let go of some people because they didn't have the same alignment as what I did.
Fair enough. So you're at 2 trucks maybe now?
Yeah, now we're at 2 trucks
Okay.
right now, and, we have the trucks in the shop, in the yard, but
Yeah.
like I said, to me, it's don't get me wrong, money plays a factor in everything, right? But I'll tell you one thing, when I'm not here anymore, no one's gonna say, "Wow, Tyler had so much money."
Right.
At least that shouldn't be the main focal point. If it is, then you did some great things as charity or something else, and
Yeah.
by golly, good on you for that. But what I see around us right now is no one has money. So if money's not my focal point, then I'm gonna make okay, Tyler's here. He's a great guy. Tyler told me everything transparently. He, like you just said, reassured me that hey, this is screwed up, but not a problem. We're gonna fix it. We have solutions for your problem.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple, like, I know, like, man, sometimes when we talk about money, even like internally in my household, like money's like, it's like weird. Like,
Yeah,
and I had a mentor tell me one time, he said, profit is not a bad word. And I was like, okay. It made me feel a little bit more comfortable with how
sure.
much I charged. But what I realized probably 2 years ago, because I go to church, right? I walked into church and I went up to the pastor. I said, who can I bless? Like, who needs help? And I don't
Yeah,
want him to know it came from me. Like, I want to be incognito, but I want to be able to help someone. And he told me this story about this guy. He was hurt on the job. He was a tradesman. He got hurt. So, like, the income wasn't really coming in. And, his wife was waiting on some type of check, and they just like didn't know if they could make, rent, or if they're going to be able to have food or anything. And I was able to provide for them, right? And I
yeah,
didn't do it for acknowledgement, for sure,
sure.
but like having more money allows you to have bigger impact. And I think that's how I took a look at it. So it's like,
Yeah,
for me, the more money I make, the more people I can impact. I don't really do the charity stuff, but I just love to serve and help people as much as I can. Like the big charity organizations, I don't know if I'm like a big fan of those. Someone on the street, someone who I know, who I personally can impact, that feels really fulfilling for me. So, but I can only do
yeah.
that if I had money, right? So I'm like, please give me more money.
Right,
I have more
right.
people to help, right? That type of
And
thing.
to
So
build onto your charity thing, like I'm kind of the same way, and I used to not be until I figured out how the charities really work, right?
yeah,
So like you donate, let's say $100 to whoever you think you're gonna give that $100 to. Well, that charity might take $80 of that 100, and now only
yeah, yeah,
$20 goes to them. And it's like that's not that's not what I wanted. I wanted these
yeah,
people to have it without anybody taking a cut. Now again, everybody has to make their money, yada yada yada. But there's like a hush hush, don't tell nobody that thing. You kind of got to look for it. And I don't know. It didn't align with what I wanted. Right. So, how you going to tax me on my helpfulness of work? Like, for instance, last Friday, I went to a lady's house, just had a furnace installed. She was really hurting for money. And there was one simple fix that I could do that didn't cost me any money and material. And I was in and out in about 30 minutes. And she was like, "If you can follow me to the Walmart, I'm gonna go try and take out a cash advance on my credit card." And I could see that she was struggling. So
Yeah.
I just said, "Hey,
Oh
look,
man.
ma'am, I think today I'm gonna bless you. You don't have to worry about paying me." And she broke down crying in front of me. And it
Mm,
was so cool. And like I
Uh,
hugged her, and it was like that right there. I went home to my wife. I'm like, "Hey, look, honey, we didn't make any money on this one, but check this out." And told her that story, and she's like, "Oh, it's awesome." And that's the stuff that I want my son to grow up around.
yeah.
And that's the stuff that engages me into the community to say, "Hey, look, I'm here helping. I really don't need to take all your money. When I can make it, I'm gonna try to. But if you're in a hard spot, let me be that saving grace, that one helping hand that maybe turns the tables for you. And from here on out, you're going up."
Yeah, and I'm sure I've done things like that, even maybe even like in front of my kids where I've helped people, bless them, whatever that looks like. And you
Yeah,
you would be surprised what a long-lasting memory that has for them. And funny enough, my kids still talk about today. Like one time we walked into we were in Florida at the Lego store, and there's like little kid. He was like walking around. I told my kids, I told the two kids, I said, I want you to find someone and we're gonna buy them whatever they want in the store. And he had like a ring. I remember he had a ring bear shirt on. And my daughter and my son found this kid, and they're like, "Dad, we want to buy him something." I was like, "All right." So we bought him, and he was so excited. And it was like what they found was like the father just couldn't purchase what he wanted, and we were able to do that. And like they still talk about that to that day. So
nice.
they could see our where my heart is. I think, I love to serve, right? That's what it comes down to. We love to give. And sometimes these interviews get broken up into two parts, right? I know you're on the job you're working. It was great to, like when you first came on, you were closing a sale, and I was like, that's what we love to see. We love to see
Right?
businesses thrive. So one thing that we do, right, like we can do an audit of maybe some things that's going on in your business. We can look at your website, we can look at your
Yeah,
marketing stuff and just give you some free tips on like, hey, look, if you do the X, Y, and Z, this will help. I mean, you mentioned something earlier that was great was, hey, I'm responding to the Google reviews. And that is one thing that is like supercharges your Google My Business, and even specifically of how you respond to them, right? So we call it SEO rich, right? So it's like, all right, if you're going after like if it's just HVAC, or if it's air conditioning or a furnace, whatever you help them with, adding those keywords into the review alone will help boost your business profile so that you become part of the one, two, or three, like the top three. That's what we like. So if
yeah,
you're okay with it, man, like, we can schedule another call where we can do it just like this. We'll probably share some screens and kind of do a deeper dive into what you do. Cause at the end of the day, we just love to serve. Like we're doing these podcasts because, you are in a place where someone wants to be. Right?
right.
So hearing your story, hearing what you're doing, what you did, where you're at right now, like you may not be at the best place or you may have to be at the best place. There is someone who's walking in your shoes right now that we hope to impact by them hearing your story. So if it's cool, Zach, what's the best way to do that? How are we going to do that on a second call if you're open to that, Tyler?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Awesome.
yeah, I think let's set it up. Let's end our show now. Tyler, thank you for being on. You are the
Yeah.
first person that we've had on that caught a house on fire. That's a first.
I like to exceed
I'm glad
expectations.
everyone was up. Yeah, I think let's jump on show number two, and we'll do a breakdown on the marketing, what to do, what not to do.